Previously, on the unexpected journey, Daniel Shepard had never asked for any of it. Not the visions, not the symbols, not the moments when the world bent around him in ways no one else could see. But something had been watching him, following him, waiting. His mother, Amanda, knew more than she ever said. She had raised him in silence, guarding him from forces he could not imagine. And Ron, the quiet man at the kiosk, had watched from the shadows, patient and unblinking, waiting for the moment Daniel would be ready. That moment came at the dinner table. A gesture, a pulse of light, a symbol carved into reality itself. And Daniel ran. Through the streets, toward the old town square, toward the fracture that called his name. Amanda followed. Erik followed. And when all three touched him at once, the world tore open. A rift, a surge of impossible light. The church clock froze at 8:17. The figures collapsed, and Daniel fell lifeless to the ground as the rift snapped shut. Amanda survived when she should have died. Erik lived with the weight of a choice he never meant to make. But what about Daniel? The machines were the only things that made a sound in the room. Soft beeps, a steady hiss of oxygen, the faint hum of fluorescent lights. Daniel lay motionless, pale beneath the sheets. Electrodes dotted his temples. The EEG monitor traced a line that barely moved. Amanda sat beside him, fingers wrapped around his hand, as if she could anchor him to the world by touch alone. Erik stood in the doorway, arms folded, trying to look steady for her sake. A nurse entered quietly.
We're running another EEG cycle now.
Amanda nodded without looking up. The machine clicked. The line trembled. Barely. It wasn't enough, but it wasn't nothing. The room was too bright, too clean, too official. Amanda and Erik sat side by side. The overdoctor stood across from them, holding a tablet.
Minimal activity. That's what we're seeing. Not zero, but close.
Amanda stared at the screen. Erik leaned forward. Minimal means what? That he could wake up? The overdoctor hesitated.
It means we don't know.
Amanda blinked, and for a split second, a faint vibration pulsed through her chest. A resonance. A whisper of something she couldn't name. Erik noticed. Amanda, you okay?
Yes.
But she wasn't. Police tape fluttered in the wind. Officers moved equipment. A forensic team photographed scorch marks on the cobblestones. The air still smelled faintly of ozone. A uniformed officer briefed a detective as he approached.
First alarm call came in at 8:20 last night. Someone said, "They're shooting fireworks at the church." Then another call. "Lightning just hit the bell tower! Send fire rescue!"
The detective knelt by a patch of blackened stone, running gloved fingers across the fused surface.
Whatever happened here, it wasn't fireworks.
His partner approached, holding a tablet.
You should see this. The Weather Institute logged a lightning strike here last night, strong enough to trip half their sensors.
The detective frowned.
There was no storm.
Exactly. Clear skies, no atmospheric buildup, no thunder, just one bolt, out of nowhere.
The detective stood, looking up at the church tower. The clock face was cracked, the hands frozen at 8:17.
And that?
They said the gears inside fused, like they were welded together from the inside out.
They exchanged a look that meant trouble.
Witnesses?
Light, a sound, then nothing.
The detective exhaled slowly.
Right, let's keep digging.
James paced like a caged animal, muttering under his breath. Emma sat rigidly, hands clasped in her lap. Andrew leaned against the wall, arms folded, watching the corridor.
Why aren't they telling us anything? Why is everything a bloody secret?
Dad, please.
Amanda will tell us when she's ready.
James scoffed. Emma sighed. Andrew stared down the hallway where Amanda had disappeared. Trevor tossed and turned in his bunk, sweat beading on his forehead. A dream, fragmented, violent, vivid. A church clock, 8:17, frozen in time. A circle of light. A hand reaching. A voice. "Who are you?" Trevor jolted awake. "What the hell?" He rubbed his face, trying to shake off the lingering images. He wasn't alone in his own head. Not anymore. The ship descended toward a sprawling vertical metropolis of steel, neon, and fog. A city built in layers, platforms stacked like geological strata, each one alive with movement and noise. Harbor City. A place where laws bent, fortunes shifted, and no one asked questions they didn't want answers to. Trevor stared out the viewport, mesmerized and unsettled. Something inside him stirred, watching through his eyes. Daniel, blind, silent, but present. Cullen piloted with one hand on the controls, relaxed, humming softly to himself. Pamela leaned over a console, tapping through diagnostics, gum clicking in a slow rhythm. Ben stood behind Trevor, arms crossed, watching him with the kind of quiet attention that wasn't quite friendly.
"Harry, you look like you've seen a ghost."
Trevor blinked, forcing his shoulders to loosen.
"Just tired. Long night."
He tried a smile, thin, unconvincing. Pamela glanced over her shoulder.
You sure that's all?
Trevor didn't answer right away. His throat felt tight. Ben stepped a little closer.
"Harry, you okay?"
Trevor swallowed, eyes fixed on the viewport.
Yeah, I'm fine."
He obviously wasn't, and the others could feel it, even if none of them knew why. The crew worked in practiced rhythm, unloading crates from the Evangelina. Trevor carried one down a narrow service corridor, the hum of machinery echoing off the metal walls. The lights flickered. Trevor slowed. At the far end of the corridor, a shape stood in the half-dark. Tall. Still. Wrong. Not moving. Not breathing. Just there. Trevor froze. His pulse spiked. His grip tightened on the crate.
No, that's impossible. They can't be here."
He blinked. Once, sharply. The shape was gone. Just an empty corridor. Just shadows. But the cold in his spine didn't leave. Trevor had spent years hiding from the conglomerate, years pretending to be dead, years hoping the Union had forgotten him. And in that moment, every instinct he had screamed that someone, somewhere, had finally found him. Trevor backed up a step, breath unsteady.
"Did they track me? After all this time? Or did the Union send someone to finish the job?"
He forced himself to move, but the feeling lingered, the unmistakable sense of being watched. Harry was the name he lived under now, but Trevor knew better than anyone. Names didn't save you, not when the past came calling. The room had finally grown quiet. James, Emma, and Andrew had left only moments earlier. James muttered something about needing to drop off his match sketches at the club, a duty he clung to more out of habit than clarity. He didn't understand any of what had happened these last days. Not Daniel, not Amanda, not the fear that had settled over all of them. Emma and Andrew had early obligations the next morning, and there was little more they could do here, so they slipped away, leaving the ward in a hush that felt heavier than before. Amanda sat alone beside Daniel now. Erik had gone to fetch a cup of coffee, promising he'd be right back. The room hummed softly around her, machines breathing in Daniel's place. She reached out and wrapped her fingers around his hand. A pulse of energy rippled through her palm, faint but unmistakable. A cold wind swept across the empty lot. A street lamp flickered overhead. Amanda stepped outside for air. Erik followed her, worry etched across his face.
You need to rest.
I can't.
Amanda, what happened out there? At the square?
Amanda stared into the darkness.
I don't know.
That was a lie. A necessary one. Trevor lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Inside him, Daniel drifted. A consciousness without form, without sight, without control. A flicker, a memory not his own. Amanda's hand. A hospital room. A faint tone. Trevor shivered. He sat alone, staring out at the city lights. Who are you? Silence. Then, a breath. Not his. Trevor's eyes widened.